Carl Philipp von Limburg. You have such a fancy name, and you made such a wonderful documentary about very unfancy people. Jämtland Dogs, amazing film about two quite extraordinary women, rough and tumble, I would say, by modern standards, right? Quite an adventure. So you're in Frankfurt. Are you German?
Yes, born and raised in Germany and lived here my whole life.
So how did you learn about these women who went to do a dog sled race in Norway?
It was in Sweden, and
Sorry, bad
I
me.
also frequently participate in Norway, and there was one soon after. But
Ah,
basically, the story goes, it was, I think, this third or fourth semester of film school, and I was in the documentary film class, and I had this project lined up that I initially wanted to do about a pilot, uh,
okay.
like a young pilot that wanted to get his license renewed, and I thought it was a cool just
Sure.
environment and very graphic. And it fell through last minute,
Oh
and I
dear.
had to find something else. And I thought, what just is something that excites me, that sounds cool. And I heard a bit about dog sledding, but I didn't know much about it. So I looked if there's anyone in Germany doing it. And that's
Ah,
how I found a man called Daniel who did it in a remote corner in Germany, like in Bavaria. And he just has, I think he has eight or nine. It's not all sledding dogs, but there's a bunch of huskies and then quite a wild mix actually. And I reached out to him and he was excited to do a little documentary. So I made like a short piece with him. That was just for the class. That was just like for a course project in university. And he liked the film and he basically showed it to his friends in Sweden, who was Ines Wassler. And through that, we got the idea to just make another documentary, but a bit longer and bigger.
oh yeah. Big
And
project.
yeah, it ended up being my bachelor project for university. And when I heard that they have the race in February 2024, I was sold. Like I thought it was such a cool environment and would be a good, like a great place to film. So that's how it came to be.
And it turned out to be an extraordinary place to film. One of the things that strikes me, I asked where you live and what nationality you are. It had to be really cold and uncomfortable for you as the filmmaker. These people are in sub-zero conditions and they're all wearing this very high-tech, modern, like coverings, and the dogs are built and bred and born to be there. How was it for you filming in that bitter cold and nights?
It was cold for sure. I mean, in Germany, sometimes you get minus double digits in Celsius. I don't know what Fahrenheit equivalent is,
Right.
but the week before we went, they had minus 25 Celsius. And it was a concern, and I prepared for it. I asked my documentary professor what kind of gear he would recommend and
Because a
how
camera,
far.
you have to have a certain kind of camera, even an audio, I would think, in the cold. Was it affected?
The batteries are affected, like they drain quite quickly. So we had a bunch of spares, and just the charging logistics were a big part of the pre-production, just figuring out when to charge batteries. And the biggest struggle, I think, was the first couple of days. I actually got sick, I think, after two
Oh.
days already. It In the beginning of the production, there was actually it was like a test drive. So our protagonist they did a sort of loop. They went, of course, like they live in the middle of nowhere and they have the great outdoors as their backyard. So they
Yeah.
just start there and then do a overnight trek to prepare for the race. And Kai, my friend who I produced this with, and me would just come along. We grabbed a car and just followed them and tried to film when we could. And that was the coldest day of production. So I knew it was essential for the film and we had to put everything into it. And basically, that is the shooting day where most of the film got made. I think half
Oh,
of what went
kidding.
into the film was made on that day. And we were having a really hard time following like the sled because we had to be on the road while they had
Oh, I
control the
see.
trails. And
I was
that,
wondering, were you on a dog sled? No, that would have been
um,
all bumpy.
maybe I can go chronologically through that day because I think it's the most interesting one.
Okay.
basically it started, we grabbed their car, his old Volvo, like 300,000 kilometers on the dashboard and all the blinking lights. And they were like, yeah, it's normal, ignore that. So we just did and followed along. And we missed them on the most important part. Like they had a lake that they wanted to cross.
Yes.
And we talked about it where they come out and we tried to get the timing right and everything. And then we go to the spot where we understood they were coming through, looking on the map we had and had a bit of a sketch and the checkpoint on Google Maps. And we wait and we go, like, we have to go into quite deep snow. And it's getting cold after a while because we're just sitting there and they're not coming. And then I call her and ask her where she is. And turns out she went on a very different part of the lake. We were very far from her. So that was, in that moment, I saw like the most important part of the shooting. They're just gone. And
And
no,
it's your maiden voyage as a documentary filmmaker of a good-sized documentary. You must have thought, have I picked the wrong part of my career? Maybe I should make video commercials in a studio. Did you
honestly,
think
yeah. There were
that?
multiple points on the production where I thought, why am I doing this? And but the day went on and we were super bummed out. We had no good shots. Departing was also hard. Like the start of the driving, we had nothing that we really came for.
Wow.
And then we talk on the phone, and there was the second lake that they were going across. And we were already a bit on edge because our batteries were also running really low.
Whoa.
And the most important part on that day was the drone. So it's like a just a
I
small foldable drone, battery super low. I have my friends like big camera batteries, the V-mount batteries, and I desperately charged the drone's batteries in the car just to get this chance of the last shot on
a
the second
trickle.
lake.
It's incredible because this race, we do have a real sense of being there with these women. And also, these women that you chose as your protagonists are really interesting because one of them came with, what, 18 of her dogs to go along with her friend. It's like this is easy for them. They pack up 18 dogs, all their food, all the equipment, all the sleds, and
It's
let's do a race. And it's a real race. It's for real. It's not, let's do it again. You either get it or you don't get it as a filmmaker or as
yeah.
a dog sledder. And I don't know, do you have any pushback in Germany about dog sledding? Because Americans seem to misunderstand that these dogs are born and bred to do this. They're incredibly well looked after. They're never run when they're tired or they're sore. And in fact, there's veterinarians along the way. But a lot of Americans have a kind of pushback about dog sled races. I don't. I think the dogs are adored by their people and are doing something they adore. But what did you think? Or what did
Um,
people in Germany or Europe think?
this was a big topic in pre-production, and also
Ah,
because this was my bachelor's project, I went through it in university. And I had a discussion in the production class, basically how and whether to include the topic of dog welfare and if it's controversial to raise dogs. And I, for myself, concluded that at least this particular race this was not a concern. It also was proven when I was there is that the dogs are well cared for and that they have the veterinary care and also that these dogs are born to run. Like you
fully.
see the moment they are like in their in their
In their harness, they're so excited.
they want to go. They
Oh my
really
God.
want to.
It's just a powerhouse of energy and joy.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool. But there is some it's controversy. Is it in the younger generation that they question these things just because it's a new idea that dogs should be looked at differently, perhaps?
I think so. I think it's also a good thing that this concern is like starting to become more prominent. And also, I believe there might be some races that don't take this so seriously. And of course, there have also been some scandals in this scene. So I believe it's important to scrutinize every aspect of it and to make sure that the dogs are cared for and that their welfare is considered and that the competition doesn't get in the way of these basic, most important things. But also,
I
yeah.
don't know about any races where there aren't veterinarians and veterinary checks. And I don't know of races where the people racing the dogs would ever sacrifice the welfare of their dog to win even one leg of a race. They put the dog on the sled, the dog who might be limping or tired or his heart rate isn't right. Maybe there are some races like that, but I'd be surprised because it's a very labor intensive sport. It costs a lot of time and money and training. Those dogs are in training all the time to keep up their strength. Just there's a tennis season, but the people are in training every other day that they aren't competing or that there's a downtime. Athletes, the dogs are athletes,
Yeah, absolutely.
and they're certainly willing. I think there's confusion. I don't know. Do you have dogs yourself or a dog or
Yeah, we have a giant schnauzer
you do?
in the family. Yeah.
Is he friendly or is he a little bit protective and a little bit more of a
Um,
guard dog?
it's a girl, and she came from a rescue actually. She's now 9 years old, almost 10. She looks and behaves like a puppy, honestly, and
Nice.
she's super sweet. She had a troubled past, but no, honestly, she's a really special dog, I believe.
Nice. That's lovely. I'm glad you have her. There are many people who have large breed dogs that live in an apartment and often are home all day
Yeah.
for 8 hours, and they're the ones saying that dog sled races are cruel. I just bring this up because I think it's an important thing for people to think about. Those people are satisfying their own needs by taking
Yeah.
the dog, not bred, born, and intended by human manipulation, because that's what we're talking about, right? Breeding
Yeah.
be
Yeah.
walked into an urban box, which is an apartment, and then be walked only on a leash 2 to 3 times a day. That to me is a life of misery. I happen to have large sporting dogs because I live in the country, and it pains me to see people in cities with Vizslas and Weimaraners and German short-haired pointers. It pains me when I see a film like yours, and I've had almost every year had a dog sled film. As last year, I said to you, let's wait a year because I don't want to overwhelm my audience with, oh boy, here she goes with another dog sled film. But it's really a different setting. And the two women who are competing are wonderful older women with such gumption and such strength themselves that I really admire them. But I think it's important that we have a better understanding, a less emotional understanding, a more IQ. Use your minds. Think about it. Look at these dogs. Does any dog look unhappy? And then they have to lie down in the snow with or without straw. And people are like, oh, it should be at home on a dog bed from a catalog. Really not. Okay. First of all, these dogs, definitely not. But a lot of dogs, I don't know about your Schnauzer, and it gets cold even in Frankfurt. She probably loves the cold. I mean,
Absolutely.
dogs,
Yeah.
these dogs I have that have no fur love the cold. I had a Rottweiler and I had a mixed breed dog, both of which were rescues that liked to lie out on a porch when it was Fahrenheit 10 degrees. You're like, that's what you want to do. Okay, you, choice. But those aren't even these husky mixes. You said there was an interesting mix of dogs, and it is very interesting. The movie starts with her talking about always having wanted an Eskimo type dog. Talk about that part of the film. It's very touching.
Right. Yeah. So our main protagonist, Manuela, she grew up actually in Switzerland. And so in this part, she tells the story of how she found this particular dog that also a part of the film is around. So she read in an old book she got as a kid about various dog breeds. She found this particular breed, the Canadian Eskimo dog, and she fell in love with it there. And like then she promised herself that someday she would own one of the Canadian Eskimo dogs.
It's so touching the way you've edited it. It's very touching because you can see that it's an arc of a woman's life from
Mhm.
childhood to late middle age. And there she is. She's living a dream she had as a little girl around a dog. And this one
Yeah.
dog, who's her favorite and is getting older, but still doing well. And she's very mindful of, does he still want to do it? Can he still do it physically? Means the world to her. And you have shots of her talking about it and just the way she's holding him and stroking him. And you think, this is the purest kind of human animal bond. They're living this joyful existence together that she's made possible.
Yeah.
Otherwise, where would his life be? He's living his best life because he's loved by her, but he's part of a pack and part of a team that does this running. Did she have other dogs that she was that close to, or he was her main squeeze?
She was. particularly close to her dogs, and I think she had her favorites, and she also had a accompanying dog that was not a sled dog, but just more of a pet to her.
Yes.
And she called him the professor because he was like he looked at you like he knew stuff. He seemed very intelligent. But she had this bond to, I think, every of her dogs, and she really was very close to them.
I think the same thing, and the film makes that clear. I think in a way, it really embodies the spirit of the film festival because many of these dogs are rehomed. Some of them are purpose bred by the people who race them, but other ones, someone drops out of racing and then they have dogs and they want them to be looked after and continue to do what they do, or in retirement, be well looked after. It's a huge international community, sled dog racing, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. I was also, that was one of the most mind-blowing parts to me is that in this small town in the middle of Sweden, that people from all over the world
Yes.
travel there with of dogs. Like
Yes.
the logistics of it is insane.
I agree. And the cost. What
That
did
as
it
well.
cost those people? First of all,
And
they
the
had
prize money of that race was like 1,000 euros or
it was
something.
nothing. It didn't even
Imagine.
cover the food they give them because they show them,
Yeah,
you show them giving the way they feed them is very important. It has to be high energy and very digestible. You don't want them to get an upset tummy during the running, which in itself causes digestive upset. Anyone who
yeah,
has a dog that runs really hard, they wind up having digestive reactions to the adrenaline, to the
yeah.
and so I'm sure the sled dogs do too. There's a lot of science that goes into how they feed them. Did you have a chance to talk to any of the veterinarians? Because on most of the races that I know of, the veterinarians are completely volunteer. So you think it's crazy that these people that are racing, they own these dogs, they look after them with a lot of veterinary care and top nutrition. And then they have these specially built trucks that have kennels built in. And then they have a trailer behind with the sled, which is some high performance, high tech thing.
Yeah.
That's what it costs them. The veterinarians from all over the world, at least in some of the races, have to apply to be a veterinarian there. They get there on their own dime, they pay for their own lodging, and they give their veterinary services because they are so supportive of it. That just blows my mind.
Yeah, that's incredible. It was all supported by volunteers. I talked to one of the veterinarians, and the whole thing is just pure passion project for everyone.
Yes. You too, of course, as it turned out.
Yeah.
But it is really interesting that these veterinarians and people don't understand this is the opposite of something that's a high money making. It's everyone's a volunteer. The
Money thinking business.
money sinking. Yeah, people think it's really expensive to own a yacht. It's more expensive to own a dog sled team and probably a lot better for everybody involved than owning a yacht. What is your next project going to be? Are you going to keep doing things about dogs? I hope. You're such a good filmmaker.
I think down the line there's definitely another, maybe even another dog sledding film.
Really good. How will it be different? You'll have more batteries. No, I'm only kidding.
That for sure. That would have spared the most difficult day of the project. I believe my next film in this realm needs to be, it needs to develop the characters more because this was a short project and I only had limited time to also build the relationship and everything. I want people to really get to know both the mushers and the dogs even better.
That's a great idea. And that's why I asked you these very particular questions about the women and their relationship to the dogs, because you do capture some of it. But of course, you're limited in time. And I didn't know it was a school project. Talk about the money you sunk into it, right? That was a passion project for you.
Yeah,
All of these things require sacrifice, some kind of economic sacrifice. But yes, the relationship of the people to the dogs and to each other. It'd be great if you would talk to some of the veterinarians. These veterinarians vie for a position. It's not like they say they'd like to comment and the race says, oh, good, do. Just wait a minute here. Let's just see. Let's see what else we have. We'll let you know. It's really quite amazing.
yeah, honestly, that's a perspective I didn't consider that much, but it could be
Really
worth their own
interesting.
production.
Yeah, and then that's something that nobody thinks about. I've now had, let's call it 4 or 5 various sled dog films in the festival over the last 9 years, and yours will be in the 10th annual, which is October 26th in New York City. And you're in Germany. It's a little far for you to come. I want you to save your money instead of coming to the film festival, save it to make your next movie. But in all of them, the veterinarians are never celebrated. You see them, you don't quite know what they're doing. You see them feeling all over the dog's body, a full body check, and listening to their heart and looking at their gums to make sure they're not dehydrated, and in their eyes. And sometimes a musher will come to the vet and say, could you check out whatever the body part is they have some concern about? But those are fascinating people. They've given up time in their clinic and all this time and money to go there because they think this is such an extraordinary event. It needs to be more celebrated and appreciated by people who
Yeah.
love dogs because
Yeah.
to me, it's the ultimate expression of what can we do with our dogs that would be incredible. Of course, there's other races other than sled. There's the cajoring. There's a bunch in those northern European countries, Norway, Sweden, I don't know, maybe even Finland, I'm not sure, where they have bikes. They're on a bike and the dog is attached to them, or they're on skis and the dog is pulling them on the skis.
Right. Yeah.
I don't want to ruin your entire bank account for the rest of your life. But there are these really other cool things and they're very cinematic. But you need more than an old Volvo with blinking lights and 300,000 miles. You probably need, I don't know, some kind of an off-road vehicle. I don't know how you could follow it.
Yeah.
Your
There's a
drone
lot
work
to
was great.
optimize. And actually, I didn't mention Volvo broke down in that night as well.
It did?
Yeah. So maybe I finished that part of the story now. So we
Yes,
had
sure.
the shooting day, right?
Yes,
Um, we had missed everything important to us. And then the final part of the day, we get the call from them that they're on the second lake,
right.
that we need to go there fast, and the sun is setting and everything. Our batteries are charging from the other battery in the hope to get 10, 15 minutes of drone flight.
Yes.
And we parked the car somewhere and we noticed they're really far away. Like the location on Google Maps is a half an hour, 40-minute walk.
Oh,
We
jeepers.
get on the lake and the sun is setting and there's like a layer of mist on the lake and it looks incredible. And I knew
Magnificent.
like I would never forgive myself if I didn't get anything from that scene. So we hike for the half an hour and we finally meet them and they arrive right on time.
Wow.
Then we actually, what we did is Kai, my friend, went on the back sled. I went on the front sled, like in the bed to carry the food and equipment.
Yes.
And Kai takes the camera, I take the drone. And we drive across the lake and he films on the camera, I film on the drone.
Wow.
And the shots that we got in those 15 minutes made up for everything. And this is
Oh,
yeah,
isn't that
yeah.
fabulous? What a great story because when we see the movie, we don't know what resources you had, how many days you had, how many practice runs they took, and the challenges of being a filmmaker, whether you have a crew of 100 or two guys, it's the same, especially when you're looking for something in nature, the light,
Yeah,
sun.
yeah.
It's fantastic. Carfy, you've done an incredible job. I'm very excited for people to see Jämtland Dogs. More excited am I that you're going to make another film because you know it's going to be welcomed with open arms in the next film festival and any film festivals after that. You have great understanding and love for dogs and their people, and you're a wonderful filmmaker. You're obviously only going to get better, which is thrilling. So thank you for being here. Thank you for making Jämtland Dogs. Carl Philip von Lindberg, you are wonderful. I'm glad I got to meet you at the
Thank
beginning
you,
of
Tracy.
your
Thank you.
career. I
This
look
was
forward
fun
to your
too.
next dog film. Thanks for being here.
Thank you as well.
Take care.